We are going to move on to the next session, which is on enhancing C++ development with Copilot Chat with Sina McKinja.
Hi everyone, welcome to my talk. Today we're going to be showcasing enhancing C++ development with Copilot. Before we get started, I wanted to give a quick introduction. My name is Sina McKinja and I'm a product manager for C++ Copilot in Visual Studio and VS Code. Copilot is a tool that can assist you at various points in your C++ development journey. Today, we're going to introduce what these tools are, showcase them in a live demo using it in C++ code in Visual Studio, and then wrap up with tips and tricks we suggest for improving results and how some of these workflows translate to VS Code as well. So before we get started, you may be asking, what exactly is Copilot? And how is Copilot similar to or different from Copilot Chat? And how are both of these tools different from IntelliSense? Let's walk through it. So there are many different tools available to assist you with your development with the C++ language in Visual Studio and VS Code. At the first level is IntelliSense. What IntelliSense does is suggest hints for your code based on what you are typing and provides quick parameter information on hover over symbols and in drop-down lists. So, for example, here, I'm writing a function that computes the square root of a number. IntelliSense pops up and has suggestions for variable types and variable names, such as double and num1. This can be really helpful when you are working with files and want to know the different variable types or function names that you can access, as well as completions for structure. What GitHub Copilot does is it takes this a step further. Copilot provides AI-powered code completions that generate entire code snippets. Just start typing and Copilot can adapt to generate the desired code. It goes beyond IntelliSense by providing context-aware suggestions and allows for natural language prompts via comments in your code to generate these code snippets. For example, with the same square root function, as I start typing out double S, it is able to perceive that I am writing a square root function and generates appropriate variable names and error scenarios. Copilot Chat takes the power of Copilot and augments it via a chat interface and features integrated into Visual Studio and VS Code that allow you to interact with your code via natural language. It is designed for programming tasks and can automatically access related content in your code within your IDE, unlike other more generic chatbots. So here you can see that I have that same square root function and I'm able to pull up a chat interface and ask Copilot to generate a square root function, and it loads the results in that familiar diff viewer so that I can view and edit the generated code by Copilot Chat before accepting. In addition to the chat interface, there are various features that are integrated into Visual Studio that we'll cover today that are powered by Copilot Chat to meet the developer where they are in their coding process so that they can minimize time, context, switching, and remain focused on the task at hand. To get access to this tooling, you'll need to have an active GitHub Copilot subscription. GitHub Copilot and Copilot Chat are now automatically included with Visual Studio as a recommended component under a singular GitHub Copilot extension, as long as you have at a minimum version 17.10 Preview 3 of Visual Studio installed. In VS Code, these are currently separate extensions that you need to download via the extension marketplace. To learn more about accessing Copilot Chat in Visual Studio, please visit aka.ms/copilotchatVS. And to learn more about accessing Copilot Chat in VS Code, please visit aka.ms/copilotchatVS. Copilot Chat has the potential to provide AI-powered assistance at multiple areas in your coding journey with C++. It has many commands and features that hook well into these use cases, but you can accomplish them through many different types of workflows, so whatever works best for your mental model. It can assist with the early areas of interacting with new and unfamiliar code. For example, it can explain any unfamiliar snippets of code to you when prompted and help you locate the relevant functions you're looking for. It can also assist with generating new code and tests. If you're encountering errors with your build or code, passing in the error code to Copilot Chat can nudge you in the right direction of what you may need to do to fix it. Additionally, you can pass in file context or highlighted code snippets and ask Copilot Chat to refactor this existing code. Copilot Chat also has the functionality to generate AI-powered commit messages, so you don't need to spend time recounting and typing up every change you made in a particular commit to Git. Now let's take a look at how Copilot Chat can help us with some of these common tasks in a demo in Visual Studio. Okay, so let's hop into the demo. Because this is a live demo and Copilot suggestions are probabilistic, not deterministic, this demo will focus on showcasing both Copilot functionality and tips for iterating when you don't necessarily get the response you want. Additionally, we recommend reviewing results generated by AI, as I will in this demo. So let's go over to Visual Studio. And okay, so here I have the Jork repository open. And what Jork is it's an application that allows the user to input different types of commands, and it outputs the results of these different commands. So what I want to do today is I want to add some functionality to this Jork application with the help of Copilot. So upon first glance, I'm noticing that there are some build errors with my Jork repository. Copilot Chat can help you with resolving these errors. So I can navigate to this Copilot Chat pane on the right-hand side, and this is what I can use to help with fixing these errors. Before we get started with that, just some things to showcase with Copilot Chat is that there are these / commands available for you, and a lot of these can help with those use cases that we discussed earlier. So for example, there's explain for explaining code, generate for generating code, and test for generating tests. Additionally, as you're prompt crafting, you'll add references to the prompt via the pound command. So you can add specific documents that you're working with to ensure that Copilot Chat can scope to this context and provide dynamic responses. But let's first focus on fixing the error that I'm seeing in my error list. To do so, I can type /fix, and then I can copy over the error code and paste this into Copilot Chat. Then Copilot Chat can nudge me in the right direction of what I need to do to resolve this error. So it's telling me I'll need to reading through this, add assets.ixx for the Jork repository or Jork executable in your CMake list.txt. So I'm looking through my Jork executable, and I do notice that my assets.ixx file is missing from here. So I will add that to my CMake lists.txt file and reconfigure Jork with this. Something to note is that a .ixx file is actually a module file in C++. So this works similar to a header file, and it is a module object for different dependencies that you can then import into your C++ code. So in this case, it's trying to import jork.assets, but it was not able to detect that .ixx file, so it was breaking the build. So it looks like the configuring is done, and I can build the Jork executable now. Something else to note in the Copilot Chat pane is that you can always look at the references that Copilot Chat sent to the model via the references icon on the bottom. So for example, here I'm seeing that it sent my CMake list.txt file as a reference to provide this response to me. Also, to the right of it is a helpful feedback mechanism to the model itself. So since the build succeeded, I can say that this was helpful for me, and I can give a thumbs up to the model, and that way I can also train the model on what is helpful for me, what is not helpful for me, and provide that feedback to the model itself. Now that the build succeeded, I can run the application, and we can take a look at the different types of things that we want to edit with the application itself and use Copilot for. at a higher level. So that's just going to take a second to open up. Okay, so now the Jork executable has loaded, and I'm seeing at a first glance that this main menu that is for the application does have some color to it, but I don't think it is as optimized as it could be for those who are visually impaired. So one scope of edits I would like to make to this application is to improve this title screen so that those who are visually impaired can read it better. I'll press return to begin, and I can type out help to see the available commands to me. So it seems that that pet command seems particularly interesting to me right now. I'll try petting maybe a cat, and I can see that I pet Marshmallow on his little head and he looks pleased. I'll try petting a dog now, and I can't pet a dog. So something else that I want to do using Copilot Chat is add some more functionality to that pet case in the code. So I'll stop this application for now and close out of this, close out of that window, and navigate over to my main.h file, which is where my game logic is handled. So something else that Copilot Chat can assist me with is navigating my code. So I want to make some edits to my pet case, so I can ask Copilot, where is the pet case handled in pound main.h? And Copilot can help me understand where exactly my code is handling the pet case. So it's saying that there's this doPet method in the game class that checks for if the object is Marshmallow or cat. And then if it is not, it says that it outputs a localized string that the player can't pet the cat. So that looks like exactly where I want to make my edits to. So I will navigate just down to do pet and make these changes via Copilot Chat. There's multiple ways where you can generate code, and it really just depends on what you're trying to do and what your mental model looks like. So in this first example, I can highlight all the code and right click and invoke Copilot via right click Ask Copilot or Alt/, and I can say generate the dog case, and then Copilot Chat will dynamically look at that snippet and add a dog case to the code. So that'll load in a little diff viewer, and I can look and it says I can pet the dog, and it also updates the existing comment to say if the object is not a pet or dog, cat or dog, you cannot pet the dog. So I can also invoke Copilot via comments. So what I can do is I can enter and I can add functionality via comments, and Copilot can then automatically generate the code snippets. So I can say if the object is an elephant, you can pet the elephant. And then delete this, and then if I start typing, Copilot will show up with the dynamic elephant suggestions, and then I can save these changes. Okay, so now that I have these new strings generated for pet dog and pet elephant, I need to add these to my localization files for localization. So I need to add them to the strings.cpp file and strings.ixx file. So I can right click and ask Copilot to generate the localization instances of the dog and elephant case in pound strings.cpp. And that will call upon Copilot Chat to add these new files for me. So it added a dog and elephant strings for me. This is where Copilot can be really helpful with generating this boilerplate code, because this looks good, but I want to add a little bit more color to the strings outputted. So it set up the structure for me, but I can then say, the dog licks your hand manually, and then the elephant trumpets loudly. And so that way I can save these changes and then have Copilot assist me with that. Then I'll just go over to strings.ixx and I will quickly just type up the pet dog file, and then the inline string key, pet elephant. And then I'll save these two files. And then now my strings are localized with these new functionality. Now that I have these two new cases handled, I actually want to also add unit tests for them. So what I can do is I can right click the same code and ask Copilot via the /test command now to generate unit tests for the dog and elephant case. And I already had some unit tests written in this application, and Copilot will actually dynamically even change, as you can see, like my my pet dog case used to say I could not pet it, but now it says I can. And I'm able to also pet the elephant. So I will add these here and I will save these changes, and I can change over to my Jork test executable and build this executable and run it and see if these new unit tests will run with my code. Okay. So while that's building, something that's really exciting and really helpful whenever you're navigating these larger repos is when you get buried in code that is referencing each other and calling upon each other, you can sometimes want to remember what exactly different symbols mean or different methods are. And this is where we have a really exciting new preview feature with Copilot Chat called On-the-Fly Docs that can help you with that. And what On-the-Fly Docs is basically you can hover over any method. So for example, this doPet method we've been working with, and ask Copilot to tell me more about what this is. So here it says, the doPet function in the game namespace takes a string representing an object as an argument and returns a message based on whether the object is a cat, dog, or elephant, including the result of the attempting to pet the object. So this can be really helpful whenever I'm navigating repos and I want to check on what different symbols might mean, what they mean in a bigger picture. And so this can be really helpful. So we really recommend trying out this new preview feature with C++ code and letting us know how it can help you with your navigation. So the build succeeded, and I can then run the Jork tests and see if these unit tests that I now generated for the dog and elephant are able to pass with the help of Copilot. So that way the generated code by Copilot and the generated tests are all looking good for my new functionality. So I'm seeing that it's loading and all tests pass, 4 assertions in 1 test case. So looks great. And everything looks great there. Now that that's done, we've handled adding the new functionality to the petting object. We're going to now switch gears and update the title screen to be better for those visually impaired. So I can navigate down to the loop component, and this is where the game loop logic is handled. Here, another way that Copilot can help you understand what your code does is you can highlight a specific function and you can ask Copilot to explain what this does. And that can explain here that it is the loop function and it continuously processes user input and updates the game state until the game is exited. And SDL event E is handling SDL events, and property is declared to represent the color of the text, and it checks if the main menu texture has been loaded, and uses that specific property color for the text of you may only go down. So this looks like where I want to edit to update the specific colors with my main menu. So I'll exit out of that and go into that. Something to just call out, what SDL event and SDL color are, is they're a part of a package called SDL, and SDL helps you handle different like keyboard inputs, handles color rendering, and it is a package that this application depends on via VC package and has a VC package.json file to include. So this is what really handles that like game logic of me typing in commands and so on. So now, I am looking at these first two events, and it's SDL event E and SDL color property. I always like to leave code better than I found it, and upon first glance, these do not seem like very descriptive variable names, so I would like to rename those. Something that's really exciting is that we have C++ support for AI rename suggestions, so that I don't need to spend the time thinking of what possibly could be a descriptive and appropriate variable name for these variables, but instead I can invoke Copilot via the rename dialog to generate these variable names for me. So I can go here and I can right click and press rename, and I can invoke Copilot via this sparkle icon to request rename AI generated rename suggestions. So something that seems good is game event, and I can preview and apply those changes. And then for this property, I can right click and rename, and I'll invoke rename suggestions here. And they said that this was the text color, so I think text color would be a great name for that, and I can apply those changes as well. So I was able to rename my C++ variables following normal coding conventions and also making them more descriptive at the same time. So this has been really helpful to have C++ support for AI rename suggestions. Now I want to change the color of the text and the renderer to be better for those visually impaired. I can select the code, so the relevant code here, and ask Copilot, can you edit the text color and the render color to be better for those visually impaired? And this can help me because a task like this could take a lot of time, because I would have to navigate to the internet, figure out, for example, like what would be good colors for those visually impaired, and then figure out what the hex code for that particular color would be. So here Copilot was super helpful. It was able to tell me it changed the text color to white and it changed the renderer color to black. So I can save those changes and rerun my application and see how the updates I made are actually being processed. So I'll run the application and take a look at all of that. So in summary, what we've done is we have updated the text colors to be better for those visually impaired, and we added pet functionality to the game. So the application is loading. All right. Upon first glance, the main menu looks a lot better. That contrast seems very good and updated to better standards. And then if I return in the application and I say pet cat, I can still pet Marshmallow. If I pet the dog, I can pet the dog. And if I pet something I didn't add functionality for, like a rabbit, it still outputs that I cannot pet that. So everything looks great. Copilot really helped me with adding functionality to this repository and let me focus on just reviewing the generated code and prompt crafting with Copilot to get the desired results. So now that I have a bunch of changes made to my application, I need to commit these to the Git repository and update the application. So I can navigate over to Git changes. And here I have my branch of all my changes. And so here I want to add a new branch. So I'll name it my changes and create it. And I'll bring over the changes. And I have my branch, and I can add all my source file changes here. Something else that Copilot Chat can assist you with is generating an AI commit message. So I can hover over this sparkle icon with a pencil and have Copilot generate an AI-generated commit message for all my changes. That way, I can just focus on reviewing the commit message generated, maybe make some tweaks here or there based on what is generated, and I don't really need to recount every specific edit I made. So it says I updated the do pet functionality to include conditions for petting a dog and an elephant. I added clarity in variable names and color changes. Corresponding test cases and main tests were updated for these new conditions. New strings were added to strings.cpp and .ixx for when the player pets a dog and elephant. And then the assets.ixx file was added to the CMake list.txt file for the jork executable. And I'll just delete the jork test executable because that portion is not accurate. So I'll save that and everything looks good and I can stage my commits and basically was able to generate my code and update the Git repository quicker than ever thanks to Copilot in Visual Studio. So going back over to the presentation. So we saw some tips to improve results, but in general, we recommend opening any relevant files to improve Copilot's performance, as it takes these open files into context. We also recommend iterating with prompts to get closer to your desired results, and you can read more about this at aka.ms/gh prompt crafting. You can use the pound command to scope Copilot Chat to specific file context. So as you saw today, I use that to scope it to find files in a specific file and so on. And as I have said, always review results generated by AI. Copilot Chat is here to assist you and let you focus on reviewing generated code, but it is AI, so it's not always perfect. If you're interested in learning about real-life C++ workflows that have been used by teams, please check out the links above, aka.ms/ttd Copilot and aka.ms/ttd Copilot Chat, because these have been really successful workflows used in real-life code by teams. We also recommend using / commands when you're using some of the common use cases highlighted today. These are tailored and designed to help perform common tasks like /explain to get code explanations, /generate to generate new code, /fix to propose fixes for a particular problem, and then /test to create unit tests. Today, we showcased Copilot in Visual Studio, but it is similarly integrated into VS Code if you use that as your IDE for C++ development. For example, it has many similarities like using / commands for performing actions and the same usage of pound variables to add specific file context. You can invoke Copilot Chat inline and through the chat window. VS Code also has support for AI-powered rename suggestions for C++ and Git commit messages. Some notable differences are that VS Code has agents available to provide more dynamic context to Copilot Chat. There is a workspace agent that scans your workspace and dynamically finds relevant snippets to pass in as context to Copilot Chat. This could be useful when asking overall questions about your code base and locating code. For example, we could have used this earlier when searching for the pet case in our code. There's also a VS Code agent that allows you to ask Copilot questions about the IDE itself, which can be helpful for learning settings and navigating the code editor. VS Code also has Copilot Chat integrated into errors, so you can fix and explain using Copilot whenever you see red squiggles, rather than having to pass the error code into chat like you saw earlier today. To learn more about using C++ in VS Code and get started with it, please check out our video at ak.ms/cpp VS Code Copilot video. We covered a lot of ground in 30 minutes, so let's summarize. Copilot and Copilot Chat are AI-powered tools that are tailored to your programming tests. Copilot provides you with auto-generated code completions while you are coding to assist with repetitive or boilerplate coding. Copilot Chat has features and chat interface to interact with AI connected to your IDE experience. Copilot Chat is deeply integrated into your IDE IDE and has the potential to help C++ developers with numerous tasks like navigating code, including that new preview support for on-the-fly docs to preview short summaries of C++ symbols, generating code and tests, refactoring existing code, including the new support for AI-powered rename suggestions for C++, and generating commit messages. Some ways we recommend improving results is by iterating with your prompts when necessary, using / commands, and then opening any relevant files whenever interacting with Copilot. So I'd like to thank you all for attending my talk. Our team is working really hard to improve C++ integrations with Copilot in Visual Studio and VS Code. So please let us know any feedback on your experience or things you'd like to see. Our team is available on X at VisualC, and my handle is ___Akunja. You can also always reach out to us via email at visualcpp@microsoft.com. Thank you all.